Well, good morning or good afternoon to everyone, depending on what part of the country you're calling in from. My name is Ginger Bell, and I would like to welcome you to the Finance of America Wholesale Mortgage, our VA Strong Building Home Ownership for those who serve. For those of you who are just joining us today, I'm going to go through a couple of housekeeping issues. First of all, you can listen either on your computer or by calling in. And you can do that two different ways. If you're not dialed in yet, you can see the information there and use the toolbar either to dial in from your phone or just click on to your audio on your computer, and you can listen that way. This is a very popular webinar, and we're happy to have so many of you joining us today. And so we do have everyone muted. However, you will be able to ask questions, and you can do that a couple of different ways. You can click on the Q&A and type in a question there, or you can simply click on your chat box and type in questions there. So let's go ahead and make sure that, first of all, you all can hear us, and second of all, that you know how to ask questions as they come up. So if you can type in either the Q&A box or the chat box, let me know what part of the country you're calling in from. And let me know how your weather is today. I'm actually back home in the Pacific Northwest with a beautiful, beautiful Oregon late summer, early fall day. 80 degrees. Leaves are starting to change a little bit, and it's absolutely one of my favorite parts and times of the year. I see a couple of you raising your hand. If you do that, just type in your question, and that way we can see those as we go along. So Marco, you're in Colorado, was just there yesterday. It was absolutely beautiful. It was about 37 degrees when I woke up, so a bit of a surprise there. So we do have material for you today, and I'm going to actually put that into the chat box right now. There are links there to the slide deck we're going through. There is also a Realtor PowerPoint presentation that you can personalize for yourself, and then we have a Realtor flyer, and those are on the VA. So you can access those there. We will also send an email follow-up tomorrow that will come with links to all of the handouts, plus a recording of the webinar. And as always, all material is available in the FAMU University, so you can access it there as well. So let's get started. For your presenters today, myself, Ginger Bell. I'm an education specialist with Go-To Training and have the privilege of working with Finance of America and Terri Buckman. Terri is a Senior Vice President of FAM Wholesale. And Terri is also a veteran, and I'm delighted to have her on the webinar today and to share her expertise. And that's really our goal in this webinar, is to share with you from a veteran's perspective how to talk to veterans about the VA home loan, and then how to build marketing and to really position yourself as an expert in the field. And so, first of all, Terri, I would like to thank you for your service and ask if you can share a little bit of your background as a veteran.
Thank you, Ginger. I appreciate it. You know, I'm a veteran of the mortgage industry as well.
Yes.
As the United States Army. I was under fire a lot more in the mortgage industry. I will say I was fortunate to serve in peacetime. I was a Army reservist in the 80s. As a young woman, and I did basic in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Did signal school in Fort Gordon, Georgia. And then I was drilling at Camp Parks in Dublin, California, and also the beautiful Presidio in San Francisco. So I really lucked out in terms of where I stayed. But I appreciated the time around in the military. I certainly, they really whipped me into shape, shall we say. I learned a lot about self-discipline and chain of command and being part of, they break you down when you get there and build you back up as a team and a unit. And a lot of the things I learned, and being around seasoned military veterans who had served in wartime, as part of being the reservist, I met a lot of really great people. So great respect for the military and anybody who served in the military, and certainly walked away with many lessons learned. So thanks. Yes, I am a veteran.
Absolutely. And that's really our goal in putting this together, is the terminology and how to talk and some of the marketing material as well. So I'm excited to talk to you about that. One of the things, and this amazed me when I pulled pulled the numbers as far as how many VA home loans are out there. In 2017, there were over 740,000 home loans that were guaranteed by the VA. It made it the largest year in the history of the VA program, which is exciting numbers, but when you look at the fact that there's over 22 million veterans in the U.S. and only 1.65 active VA loans, we have a long way to go. And so whether you've been closing VA deals for 20 plus years or you're just getting started in the industry, really you can't afford to miss this opportunity to learn more about the VA home loans. And that's our mission, is to ensure that every veteran across America who is eligible for their VA home loan can have access to the full scope of what the VA offers them as a benefit. And so, Terri, I'd loved when you put this together because, truly with your experience, things you'll never hear in the military, right?
Right. Yeah, can't do that. There's no such thing as can't do. We have too much firepower. After a rifle range, we'll be discussing your VA home loan benefits. That doesn't happen. You
Right.
go through a lot of training in basic and also when you go off to school, but they just have a lot to impart to you and they really don't take the time to explain benefits. And that's why I like to say now it's time for us to serve, those of us in the mortgage industry, to serve those men and women who defend our homeland, to put them into their own homes and to help them hang on to their own homes. So now it's time for us to serve.
Right. Now, our goal of the webinar today is not to go through the entire VA home loan program. We actually have several courses that are available on FAMU, including an entire VA certification program. We also have another certification program we're going to share with you in a little bit. But I do want to just kind of touch on the highlights just as a reminder. So important features about the VA. First of all, it must be for the veteran's own personal occupancy. The maximum guarantee is up to 25% of the Freddie Mac maximum conforming limit. No down payment is required, so that's up to 100% financing, which is incredible. They do have the ability to finance the VA funding fee. They have fixed or ARM options available. They are fully amortized, so there's no interest-only options. Flexible credit standards, no mortgage insurance. It's also an assumable mortgage, which a lot of people don't know. There's no prepayment penalties. The VA also offers assistance to borrowers who are in default, and the lender controls the pace of the transaction. So those are the highlights, but let's talk specifically about the guaranteed portion of it.
Yes, I would add to the last slide too in terms of benefits, of course, the fabulous interest rate reduction loan, the EARL we call it.
Right.
Lots of acronyms in mortgage lending, and there's lots of acronyms in the military. So we do have that in common with our military veterans. So yes, quick, fast refinancing without requalifying. So there's the EARL. With regard to the guarantee, what I'd like to say, it is not government insured. There is a guarantee on the loan to the lender on the top 25%. So that is why we can offer very good below market rates without private mortgage insurance and at very high loan to values. This is the only loan where you're going to see in most cases a veteran be able to do 100% financing, and they can finance the funding fee, which is similar to an upfront MIP on an FHA loan if you do FHA lending. But there's no monthly MI as you would see in a privately insured private mortgage insurance conventional loan or an FHA loan. So that is where the monthly payment gets very, very affordable for the veteran. And I want to say too, anytime you're discussing the VA loan, always refer to it as the VA home loan benefit. This immediately elevates you from, and I don't want to say just a loan professional, because certainly that, we bring a lot of value to the table with all of our mortgage and qualifying expertise and product expertise, but you're really also educating the veteran and providing their benefit. And not everybody is eligible for the benefit. So always refer to it as a home loan benefit. Now, with regard to the guarantee, I think that's all we need to see about the guarantee on this slide. It's 25%, and every year they up that up to match the Freddie Mac loan limits, which the next slide really jumps into. So just to make it simple for you, So you don't have to get too tied up in entitlement and what the guarantee amount is and all of that. Just know that VA tracks with the Freddie Mac loan limit. So in most cases, if your veteran has their full entitlement, they will be able to get 100% loan up to the standard Freddie Mac limit of 453,100. And in high cost areas where Freddie has put out a high balance loan, you will also be able to do 100% VA loan to that higher loan amount in high cost areas. So you've got your standard VA, your high bal VA, and technically, as this slide points out, there is no maximum VA loan limit. So depending on the lender you're working with, it is possible when we actually go up to, we have a super jumbo VA that goes up to $2.5 million. That's obviously way beyond the Freddie Mac loan limits, but there would be some down payment required as soon as you get into jumbo territory. So the formula on that just quickly is the difference between the maximum 100% loan and the jumbo loan amount. 25% of that would, just down and dirty, would be the minimum down payment. We've got worksheets to help you work through all of this and understand this more fully if you have one, and obviously all of our account executives are on standby to assist you with any specific loans you're looking at. But the jumbo VA does allow you to still do high LTV jumbo loans with excellent rates and no monthly MI. So always, that's something that's why you always want to make sure you are finding out if the borrower you're working with is eligible for a VA loan.
Right. And I know we had a question in that was regarding that, Terry, from David. So you addressed a lot of that as far as how the maximum loan amount is determined when the sales price exceeds that maximum conforming loan amount. So requiring a little bit of a down payment, but just the fact that that's available in the jumbo amount, especially in California, is very important.
Right. And so just quick, let's see. So if you were in a county that did not have high bal, say you were doing a $500,000, you wanted to do a $500,000 VA loan, you might want to consider that. That would be considered a jumbo VA. It wouldn't be a super jumbo because we do regular jumbo up to 1.5 million. Super jumbo is anything over 1.5, but it would be a jumbo VA. So they would be able, we would normally be doing 100% to 453.1. So if I subtract 453.1 from 500, I would take the difference and multiply that by 25%. The difference is 46,900 times 25%. Your down payment would be 11,725. I know I'm going fast here, but just to give you an idea, that's still less than 3% of a down payment on a jumbo loan with no monthly MI. So you do always want to take a look, if you're talking to a veteran, at possibly doing a jumbo VA loan. It can be a great deal.
Excellent. Great. So let's talk about what questions you should ask a veteran. And we'll start with the first one, Terri.
Well, certainly, you should ask every borrower if they are a veteran, and if they are, most likely they are eligible to get a VA loan. And if they do say they are, then you want to ask if they have their DD-214 or if they have their certificate of eligibility. We sometimes refer to the certificate of eligibility as a COE, not to be confused with close of escrow. We are talking about a certificate of eligibility when we're doing a VA loan. And you do want to ask, well, let me just back up on the certificate of eligibility. I wouldn't worry too much if they don't have their DD-214. In most cases now, by far, we're able to, and you, by the way, are able to go onto the VIP, the Veterans Information Portal, and extract what we call an automated certificate of eligibility, or an ACE. So more and more, this certificate of eligibility is available online, and you can either get it or you can ask us to pull it for you. Either way, it works. And then with regard to question 4, there are many cases where if a veteran is receiving disability benefits from the VA, they will be eligible to have their entire funding fee waived, which can be significant. First time use on a funding fee is 2.15. They may have all of that waived, which will mean a lower loan amount, could mean lower closing costs if they were going to pay the funding fee out of pocket. But either way, it's a huge benefit to them, and it's part of an extra benefit that they receive if they are getting disability benefits. And I want to just say the best way to ask this when you're working with a veteran is, do you currently receive any disability benefits from VA? It's a much more eloquent way to ask the question than to just come out and say, are you disabled? So I do recommend that exact verbiage.
Right. So let's start with the first question, and that is, are you eligible? And the requirements for eligibility are listed right here. So
yeah, and in most cases, as this slide says, in most cases, if they did serve, they will be eligible, because most people sign up for a minimum of a 2-year term. So they will have their 2 years, and as long as they weren't dishonorably discharged, they will most likely have their home loan benefit. It's a little different for a reservist. They need 6 years of participation, unless they were activated to active duty. And it could also be less if they suffered, any injury or receiving disability benefits on a shorter term that they served. That's true, actually, of any veteran. But if they've served, most likely they are eligible. And surviving spouses of a veteran also have eligibility.
right. And then the amount of eligibility is determined by the county they're buying in, right?
Yep. Absolutely. And as I said earlier, don't fret too much about it. You're really just going to look at your Freddie Mac loan limits. You can also go to the VA website, and they will list every year the VA loan limits, but you could also go to the FHFA, and they are listing all the conforming loan limits. So they track right with Freddie Mac pretty much every year. And they can use their eligibility over and over. Eligibility, they get a certain amount of eligibility, and they need all of their eligibility to get a maximum loan amount. Okay, so they won't have as much eligibility if they have more than one VA loan in place at the same time, and that's possible. They could use their benefit, their eligibility to buy one home. Maybe they converted that to a rental and they're trying to buy a second home. Well, that will impact the amount of eligibility that they have on the next home that they want to buy. Okay, so you do need to be aware of that. We do have worksheets to help you calculate what their remaining entitlement is and what the maximum loan amount could be on the subsequent VA loan. But more likely than not, they will be paying off the first VA home loan and getting their entitlement restored, in which case they're able to go ahead and get a new maximum full entitlement loan on their new home. And that can happen as quickly as within one day. And we can walk you through the steps on that. And we've got training in FAMU on how to make that happen. If there's a VA foreclosure, that could impact their entitlement as well. And depending on when the VA enclosure actually happened, there could be a obligation that has to be paid off before that would be discovered when the Cavers is pulled. That could prevent them from getting another VA loan. So be aware of that. But it's for a number of years now, VA has not been going after the VAs for that type of money, unless there was fraud involved with the loan. So there has been some changes in the laws on that in the last decade or two. In any event, if you have that scenario, walk us through and we'll get you the details for it.
Right. I think the most important thing for a lot of people, though, because I run into this, and I'm sure you do too, Terri, is a lot of people think that it's a one-time use, and it's not. They can use it, sell the house, buy another house, and that can be done in a seamless transaction. So I think that's important when you look at positioning yourself as a veteran expert, that a VA home loan benefit expert, that is something that's important to know and a question to ask. Have you ever used your VA home loan benefit before?
Yes, and it's also important to ask that because subsequent use will have a slightly higher funding fee. I believe it's 3.3. It's a little bit higher with the subsequent use, lower for the first time use.
Right. So I know you said they don't really rely on the DD 214, but in terms of positioning and when you're having a conversation with a veteran, to be able to know the proper terminology and what that means, I think is important. So Terri, can you share what exactly is a DD 214?
It's your evidence of service. So it's really everybody who's discharged honorably from the military will receive their DD 214, and it really just serves as your evidence of service.
Right. So now let's talk about how you get your certificate of eligibility. And we'll begin with what exactly is a certificate of eligibility?
It will show the amount of entitlement that you have for your VA loan. So it's very, very important to the lender. We have to have the certificate of eligibility in the file to get it, to have it be guaranteed as a VA loan. So, but as I said, more and more, we're able to pull these off as an automated certificate of eligibility. Sometimes you will see that a veteran has a paper certificate of eligibility, but more times than not, we're pulling these now off of the ACE system through the VIP. And know that you as originators can sign up and get yourself registered for the Veterans Information Portal and have your own access to generate case numbers. Once you're sponsored by a LAP lender like FAM, you can get your case numbers, you can pull these certificate of eligibility yourself off the portal. You can do all of that yourself, and or we're happy to do that for you. Either way, whatever you're most comfortable with.
Right. And so really understanding who is eligible for the VA home loan benefit, and being able to ask the question as far as, have they served, if they have their certificate of eligibility, and then moving into kind of the process that it goes through. So starting with obtaining the COE, it's a formal document that certifies their VA entitlement and their eligibility. And then the entitlement is the amount of money that the VA will guarantee on that loan, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
And then just as you shared, it can be requested online by the veteran or by the lender, and it's a very easy thing to do. So having that information is very important. And so if the veteran wants to get it, then they have a form that they're going to complete. It's going to go online. And if you have someone that has served, I think it was prior to, 55 or 46, there was a year that I think there's a manual process they need to go through. So if you're having a difficult time getting that, then work with FAM and they can help you as far as finding their eligibility, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about the question as far as, do you receive any disability benefits, and talk about the ability for them to possibly not have to pay the funding fee.
Right. And actually, part of processing of the VA loan requires that you, when you're processing, send in a form 268937. It's known as the verification of VA benefits. So we will have that in the form anyway, and that will tell us, will confirm whether or not we are waiving the funding fee or not. So, so that will come up in discovery through processing the loan. But also it's good to ask the question so that you can be watching for it and making sure that your veteran receives that benefit.
Right.
And calling it out to your processor and the lender, making sure that that goes the way it should.
Right. So it's important to know what to look for. The process, the terminology, and all of those things are important when you look at positioning yourself as a VA home loan expert. And so once you close a VA deal, you can look at tapping into other friends, family, coworkers that they have to be able to get the maximum amount of referrals, because the military community is definitely one of the tightest knit groups going. And they know after doing multiple moves that the yellow pages and online reviews will only tell you so much. So by them having a friend saying, hey, you should use this particular loan originator, it is a rock solid referral, and it's advice that they're going to latch onto and follow. And I have a lot of friends who specialize in the VA home loan, and specifically that's all based on referrals is how they started with it. So, happy buyers equals happy referrals. And so, it's important to know where you find those buyers at, or those borrowers at. So, and if you're looking at, where they are, we have some recommendations. So, Terri, what are some of the things that you see as far as getting in front of veteran buyers that can be a great benefit?
Well, there's a couple of things you can do. First of all, if you live near a military base, every military base has a base newsletter, and you can advertise in the base newsletter relatively inexpensively. So that's, but not everybody lives near a military base. Certainly, obviously, making sure all your realtor referral partners know that you are specializing in VA lending and that you are very versed with military housing issues, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in just a moment, will ensure that those realtors are always thinking, as soon as they know they're working with a veteran, that they're thinking of you right out the gate, that you're really the obvious go-to person for that loan. I also recommend, and I did this myself as a retail loan officer, and also had some of my folks that I managed when I was in retail management, in a previous position, to contact your local chamber of commerce. And your chamber of commerce will know, and in the larger employment centers in your area, contact those chambers of commerce, and they will know which employers will hire or tend to hire a lot of veterans. You might have a lot of contract companies that use contract people that were contractors at military bases that will hire a lot of veterans, and they will have stats on that. They will have contact information for the HR departments of all of these large employers, and you can go in and present and ask to come in and bring a lunch and learn seminar to their veterans on their home loan benefit. Well, that sounds a lot better than Joe Schmo loan originator coming in and saying, hey, I just want to come in and talk to your customers about loans. That sounds more like they're letting in a vendor in the front door. But when you go through HR and say, I want to bring specific training to your veteran employees on their home loan benefit, employers want their employees to buy homes and be secure and put down roots. It locks them into the area and makes them reliable and stable. And they usually will welcome you to be able to do something like that.
Right.
So I highly recommend doing that. What else? I think those are good for this. For right now.
And it really begins with making it a habit to begin with that first question of every borrower that you meet, right? And that is the question, have you served?
Yep.
And then really becoming the expert. And Terri, you gave some great recommendations as far as conducting training, marketing for realtors, companies in your area, community groups, other partners. And the fact that you're going in, and I love how you said it, I want to be able to share information with your employees, your staff about being able to tap into their VA home loan benefit. And when you use the term benefit, it completely changes that conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to look for ways to stand out and to also relate. So even if you haven't served, you can still look at ways to be able to stand out and to be able to position yourself. And so we have some great recommendations here. The first one is becoming a certified military housing specialist. And I know, Terri, you went through this, right?
Yes, I'm telling you, if you take nothing away from this presentation today, you owe it to yourself to spend a few minutes and get yourself certified as a military housing specialist. This organization, USA Cares, they do bonds, and they've done $10 million worth of bonds to assist individual veterans in being able to stay in their home when they've hit some type of hardship. So it's a very, very good organization. They're also backed by Fannie Mae. And for $25 donation, and you can certainly donate more, you take an online course, and they will walk you through all types of, first of all, they'll take you through the 5 different branches of military. They'll walk you through the ranking system, the insignia, so you know who you're talking to. If they happen to come into your office in uniform or mention what their rank was, you'll know where that was and how to, were they an enlisted men, were they an officer? This will be very, very informative to you and help you get into their world and understand, where they're coming from. They will also walk you through a pay stub, an active military pay stub, which is known as an LES, or leave and earnings statement. They'll walk you through all the components of it, how to read it. They'll show you the different types of military income that one can receive as in active military. They will talk about the basic housing allowance, the basic subsistence allowance. Sometimes they get a COLA allowance, which is a cost of living allowance in high cost areas. They will walk you through which of those incomes are tax exempt and which are not, because you are able to gross up income that is tax exempt. BAH, for example, BAS, you can gross up 115%. And they will really just familiarize you with what that all looks like and what to watch for in active military. You know, when are they being discharged? Is it under a year? Is it 60 days? Do we need to know what they're doing after that? Are they re-upping? Do they have a civilian job lined up to take? You'll have to be able to address and answer all those types of things for active military personnel. But they will also give you some great marketing ideas on how to leverage your certified military housing specialist designation, how to display it. Yeah, and here Ginger is showing the completion certificate that you are awarded, the logo that you can display, and it will be meaningful to your veterans that you took the time to take this complete this training and really become an expert. They will also walk you through different laws that protect veterans. For example, the SCRA, Service Member Civil Relief Act. I did not know this till I took the course, but as a veteran or an active military, when somebody is deployed, any loans that they have in place that they took out prior to deployment, they cannot be charged more than 6%. That's by law. Even credit card debt, they have to adjust the rate down. But that only happens if the veteran knows to send their deployment papers to those creditors. You could be that person that told that veteran and educated them on that. If they're in a one-year lease, they can get out of a lease if they're deployed. If they have a car lease or a contract with a phone company in an area where they won't be able to use their cell provider service, they can get out of that contract. So they give you tons of information and handouts that you can provide a veteran to really establish yourself as someone who's taken an interest and cares about serving these veterans. Okay, so I could not recommend this more. I think too, in terms of leveraging this designation with your realtor referral partners, I don't know who loves designations behind their name more than realtor referral partners, right? They love it.
They do.
So they can get this designation as well, and you can take it together. Do a lunch and learn, provide lunch, get a lunchroom, have your realtors come in with their laptops. It's all web-based. You can all get certified at the same time, take the training and the testing together, and have some giggles and laughs, learn something, and then you can co-brand and co-market with these folks that you bonded with over taking this training together. And they will now know and remember you as the person they need to refer their veterans to. And you won't always necessarily do a VA loan when they send you a veteran. There will be many times where it will make more sense to put them in another type of product. And just a quick example, something that comes to mind for me that I remember from being an originator. If a veteran comes to you and they want to buy a house with a girlfriend and they want to use income for both parties and they're not married yet, well, that will impact the entitlement because you can only use the entitlement for the veteran's portion of the loan unless they're a spouse, unless they're married. So if you've got a young couple coming in and they're not married and they want to buy together, you're probably going to do better with an FHA loan. And there's other situations like that, but they still would have been sent to you, because you're the one who would know that. You would be the one that would compare the couple of options and put them in the right loan. So it's not like you're only doing VA loans. You're serving veterans in whatever type of loan is going to be best for them. So I highly, highly recommend this. I also would suggest that in your marketing, you mention that you are making a donation to USA Cares for every loan you do, or perhaps Wounded Warrior. I think Ginger's going to talk about that in another slide here. Right. But that will go a long way too to making people feel good about referring people to you and showing goodwill that you've taken a lot of interest in our veterans. So
yeah,
I think that
causes are important. Absolutely.
Super recommend this, guys.
Yeah, and so the link for this is in the slide deck, and I'll send it as a follow-up in the email tomorrow too. So you can click on that link and get certified and start using that logo. So Terri, you shared this idea for marketing. So I think it's great. So tell me about these.
Right. So I had a gal who was working for me, a branch manager. She was looking at transitioning her business, and she really she came to my office and we sat and I said, well, how about specializing in VA loans? And she took it and ran with it. And we just started brainstorming on fun marketing ideas. She got involved with her local town on a memorial statue project in a fundraiser. So she was working with business leaders all over the city to do that. And that, was part of her becoming a VA military home loan specialist. But one thing we thought of as a marketing, just a quick giveaway, was this P38 Can Opener. Now, the average person probably has no idea what this is. It's a little metal tin, and you, in the military, you wear it with your dog tags around your neck, and you use it to open C rations, which are rations that are in a can. You have to have a can opener on you. It's actually a little can opener, and they're not very expensive. You can actually market them and have your name and number put on them, but there's just something, people get a kick out of seeing them because it's so esoteric and it's so specific to a veteran's world and where they were. It just demonstrates that you know a little bit about them. But sure enough, she ordered a bunch of them. She didn't have them engraved, although that's an option. She tied a ribbon with marketing information on each one that had her business card and a little ribbon. And she just told me that every time they would come in, they would just light up. They just got a big kick out of it. They hadn't seen one in a while. It's just, anyway, it's just a nod. It's a nod to your customer.
Well, obviously recognized because we're getting Marco here. He says he still has his P38 from '84. So
I do too. I still have when I do VA trainings live, I wear my dog tags and my P30.
There you go. And it's one of those things. It's something that you relate. It's like, oh my gosh, I still have mine, or oh, I remember. And it's one of those things where you can start building stories. So, just knowing what it is and having that for branding, I think is great. Terri, we did get a comment in as far as making a donation to the certified military or to another donation in terms of, is that a RESPA violation? And you're not actually asking for a referral. So a donation that's being made in that regard would not be considered a RESPA violation.
No, I don't see how that would be a RESPA violation because it's just straight up a donation. They're not the service, they're a charity. They're actually a nonprofit. No, right. I don't see how that would be a RESPA violation.
And there's no referral that's taking place. You're just saying that you're just making that donation.
But I would say, run that by your manager. If you have any concern whatsoever, run that by your own management. We don't see it as a RESPA violation, but you should clear that for yourself.
Right. So the other thing you can do, and Terri, you talked about this, about getting involved with organizations that serve the military. Last week I was in Los Angeles at a conference and had the opportunity to find out about the Folds of Honor, which is an excellent organization that provides scholarships for military spouses and children, not add children. But there's a link there that you can find out more information. And again, another organization you can say that, a percentage of every loan that you fund is going to go to and list out the different organizations. Wounded Warrior Project, big project. I know a lot of people in the lending community are involved with them as well. There's projects in your community that you can get involved with, but it's a way for you to stand out. And so, one of the things you want to do is to consider, and Terri, I'll let you talk about this, about building some dedicated VA web pages or marketing or, what you're doing as far as your social site to be able to position yourself.
Absolutely. Back a number of years ago, I would recommend that originators get involved in the American Legion groups, but I'm not sure that that's as vital anymore, and is definitely going to be comprised of an older, more mature group of veterans who probably have equity and maybe don't need the VA loan quite so much as our younger veterans might need it. And I really know, that we have a lot of tech-savvy young veterans who are going to be looking to buy soon and definitely would benefit from this VA home loan benefit. And what they're going to do, most likely, outside of their affinity groups, which is, again, as Ginger was saying, you want to start establishing yourself within different organizations that attract veterans for sure. But outside of that, they're going to do a search for VA loan in their city, probably. So if I'm in Concord, I would probably just type in VA home loan, Concord, California. And you want to make sure that for the market that you serve, you have a VA loan specific page that comes up on page 1 in the Google search when they search based on VA home loan and the city, their city that they might be looking to do business, because they will want someone local to work with, most likely. And you have a much better chance of capturing that veteran's business if you have a page designated solely to VA lending. And the gal I referenced earlier who did the P38, she did that just this morning. I put in a search in her town and her city, and sure enough, she had a VA home loan page that popped up. It was like third down from the top. And she's, I know, been very, very successful focusing with that. So you want to make sure that you work with whoever helps run your site to do a specific VA page in the markets you want to serve. Very important.
Right. And it doesn't have to be a whole website. So just a page focused on that is great.
Absolutely.
Great. So you had these best practices to be able to conduct your business military style. And I know you kind of talked about the things that you learned from the military as well, but I think these are great pointers, not just for being involved in the VA home loan, but just for business in general.
Yes. So keep a clean office, look sharp. And if you have a lot of clutter on your desk, you should at least dress it right and cover it down. Marco, you know what I'm talking about. Probably nobody else does. But, you in the military, everything is organized in a very, if you dress it right, you look to your right, make sure you're all lined up, cover down. When you're in formation, you're standing right behind the person in front of you. Everything is organized. If you look at a parking lot, a military parking lot of vehicles, you'll see that everything is lined up very, very exactly. Of course, you've seen Blue Eagles fly their planes within inches of one another. Have a clean office, be organized, be punctual, use good posture. That will signal a lot to a military person. After you've gone through basic training and you learn a little bit of discipline, I can still do my 16 push-ups that I needed to get out of basic training. And I'm no kid. So you want to be respectful, and all of these things will come across and make a good impression on anybody who's been in the military.
Right. Being relatable is so important.
Yes, and respectful is huge.
So we've shared a lot about creating a VA campaign and really creating that whole idea, that persona about being that VA home loan specialist. And so one of the things you can do is to position yourself with your realtors. And I love what you suggested about, offering to your realtors to be able to have everyone become certified. And you could even do that in your office. You could invite everybody in and just show the certification, have everyone log in, and make it a lunch and learn where everybody can get certified. We're also providing all webinar attendees with the Realtor slide deck, goes through the basics, myths, things like that about the VA home loan that you can share with your realtors. You can personalize the slide deck, set up meetings. There is a lot of power in education. And I was actually just reading an article talking about marketing trends that are coming up in 2019. And I know, Terri, we're going to be doing a session at the NAM National Conference coming up in December on that. But One of the things that they said that is the trend for 2019 is about education and about what I call edu-marketing, and using the power of your expertise to be able to educate. That's what consumers are looking for. They're searching online, not just for a particular loan originator in an area, but they want information. They want to know, hey, what is this all about? They don't teach this in the military. There is no kind of a session that they go to be able to go through their benefits. And so really it's up to us to be able to provide that education. One of the best things you can do is to start building some of that, whether it's a video on YouTube, whether it's, something that you set up that's more formal, to put an entire, like we have the certification program that's available in FAMU or through the military housing specialist. And there's lots of things you can do to position yourself, but there's a lot of power in education. And we know that very well because we provide to FAM loan originators, a lot of different resources. You can contact your Finance of America account executive to get signed up with FAMU. And we have flyers in there. We have training in there. All of the webinars that we do are recorded and put in there. And so if you do not have a login to FAMU, you want to contact your Finance of America account executive and get signed up, because there's a lot of resources there that we can provide for you. So we've covered a lot today. We have a presentation that we're covering here. There's a link for that. We have the open presentation to the Realtor deck. We have a flyer that's available. I'm going to send out an email to everyone. It'll come to you tomorrow with all of the links. I'm also recording this. I know I've seen a couple of you logged in late because you were busy, and I understand how that is. So we do record everything, and we'll have that available. I'll send out the recording, and then you can always log into FAMU and to be able to get that as well. But go get yourself certified, whether it's through our FAM certification, through the Military Housing Specialist certification, getting involved with other organizations within your community. But the main thing is to start positioning yourself as the expert, because Terri, as you have shared with the experience that you've had with loan originators, it really does make a difference, right?
It's a great differentiator, and it's a way in the door, and the other loans will come anyway because you're building rapport and establishing relationship. So it's a way in. It's absolutely a way in.
Right. So if you do have any questions about the VA home loan or any other products, please contact your Finance of America account executive. They are here and ready to answer questions. We thank you for your business, and we thank all of you for being on the webinar today. And Terri, I want to personally thank you for your service. For those of you who are listening who have also served, thank you for your service as well. And we look forward to seeing you on an upcoming webinar. Terri, thank you.
And now it's time for us all to serve. Thank you. Thanks, Ginger.
Okay, thanks, guys. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.